What is up, fine citizens of the galaxy, and welcome back to another episode of Hops Geek News. We are a podcast that asks you to join the rebellion and fight with us to take down the evil empire of the galaxy. But on a serious note, we are a podcast that talks about comic books, movies, TV shows. We feature a beer of the week, and every week we have a topic. So today's topic, we are going to be joined by Tommy, who is going to discuss Andor with us. Andor has recently wrapped up. We're going to put a nice little Christmas bow now that we're into the Christmas season on the Andor season 1. It was a fantastic season. Spoiler alert. I loved every second of it. But first things first, though, we're going to talk about some things that we're drinking. We're going to talk about what we've been reading and watching, dive into some news, the latest in pop culture news, and then we'll get to Andor in just a few moments. I am Matt. With me is my co-host, Lauren. And if you were looking to find us anywhere, please go ahead and search Hops Geek News on any podcasting platform. Leave a review, subscribe, share it with a friend, help us grow. That's the best way to do it. Go ahead and go to our social media platforms, all of them: TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube even, and Instagram. And then, of course, we are over on Hive now, too, since that's where all the cool kids are going. But just search Hops Geek News, and we're on there as well. My beer today is from our good friend Stacy. She's out there doing really good things in New Haven, Connecticut region. This is from her brewery, East Rock, and it's Rocky Trails, a cold IPA. It is delicious, citrusy, tropical, refreshing. It's 6% ABV. It is from East Rock Brewing Company from out there in New Haven, Connecticut. She is a good friend of the show. She hooked us up with a really, really good package, ton of beers from both East Rock and from Two Roads Brewing Company. This beer is amazing. I get a lot of flavors. I've never had East Rock. Two Roads, I've had a bunch. It slaps. Absolutely amazing beer. This cold IPA is amazing. We had a little juicy from Two Roads on the other half of the show, but that's what we're drinking today. Both drinking the same beers. It looks like we didn't mess up or had to look into anything last week. So
I'm sure we did.
I'm sure we did as well. But you know what? For now, we're just going to roll with it. If anybody ever catches something that we mess up on, please, by all means, call us out on it. Let us know. Be like, hey, you idiots, this is wrong. Sean's cameo, he likes to do that. You know what? We love him for it. And he also sent me a really cool care package that I did an unboxing for. He sent me the Kang Train t-shirt, which Kang Train, it's a thing, making it happen. And then he also sent me this Movies hat, which, if you know me, you know my love for Kevin Smith. Words are hard tonight. And this Movies hat. So I had to rock the Movies hat, man. I love it. I love it. I love it. So let's talk about what we've been reading or watching. I'll tell you straight up. The only thing I've watched was Andor. I've been watching football, and I haven't really been doing much else other than that. Haven't really been reading anything. Just been lazy. A lot going on in life. So Andor is about the only thing I've been doing. I lied. I finished that Lindsay Lohan Netflix Hallmark movie.
Oh, jeez.
It was everything you could have asked for in a Hallmark movie. And you already know that we subscribed to the Hallmark channel on Amazon Prime because we're gearing up for the holiday season. So we watched that. We did watch Disenchanted. I see now I'm remembering all these things.
I forgot. I watched Disenchanted too.
Yes. So we watched Disenchanted. My daughter has probably watched about 6 times now since it's come out. So I've seen it so many goddamn times. I liked it. I don't think it was as good as the first one.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah. But it was a lot of fun.
It was fun. It was really good. Maya Rudolph was in it. And of course, McDreamy. He's Patrick Dempsey. He was back in it. And James Marsden. James Marsden is a man.
God, I love him.
He does not get enough credit.
So this past week, I actually watched Dead to Me and Disenchanted.
Harry's watching that, actually. Yes.
He's in Dead to Me. And he plays, actually, I don't want to say what he does because it's a spoiler.
He's a very serious actor in that.
Let's just say he's very serious, but he's also very goofy.
Yes.
So he does amazing, but yeah, I do. I absolutely love him in Enchanted. I love when he calls people peasants.
He's amazing.
Every time he calls people peasants, I laugh.
There's nothing this man can't do. I mean, he was honestly a really good Cyclops.
I thought he was Bunny.
He's the Easter Bunny. He was a great Cyclops in X-Men. Like that was a really good casting alongside Hugh Jackman. And then he's just in Sonic nonetheless. Like he does these amazing movies where he's acting against CGI and nobody, and he's
so underrated.
And then Idina Menzel was actually Elsa. You know, she was in this movie too, and it was cool getting the gang back together. And it was good. The songs weren't as good this go around, but you know, if you had my 4-year-old on this podcast, she would tell you a whole different tune.
Yeah. I mean, the one where they're cleaning the "Come My Little Friends" as we all sing a happy. That's one of my favorite songs. I love that shit. I'm like, I sing that when I'm like making the kids clean. That's one of the few movies I have the DVD for. Yeah. But they did finally let Idina Menzel sing. So they didn't let her sing in the last one because they were, you know, they didn't want her character to overshadow. Like, so it didn't really make sense for her to sing, but to have a movie where people are singing and Idina Menzel is not singing is nuts, because
it was such a disservice.
Right. They, you know, she had already been, you know, the Wicked Witch. She had been in Rent. But I will say, though, there was a part where she was singing and she said, "Let it grow, let it glow." I'm like, oh, just say it. You know, you want to. But she didn't say "let it go."
Fisted that in. Yes.
I will say, I think they like quadrupled the Easter eggs in this. Like there was a ton of Easter eggs in the original, but in this one, I'm like, oh, that's from this. That's from this. I'm like, I couldn't stop myself. I'm like, those are the fairies. And then she turns
just more
into fairies
this
and like,
time around.
Maybe. But I didn't realize my 10-year-old had never seen it. So she watched it shortly before. I mean, Kaylee's seen it a million times. Took her to see it in the theater in 2007 and then bought the DVD and had all the songs on my iPod.
Yeah. The 4-year-old, she's watched Enchanted. She calls her Bizelle because she can't say Giselle.
That's adorable.
So Bizelle. And she's been in her room jumping on her little trampoline to the music. She sings along with it and dances. Like, I got to get that girl in dancing and all that stuff because that's like her calling in life. But yeah, watch that movie. I liked it. And then we did watch the Blues Clues movie that came out on Paramount Plus. It was interesting. And the kids enjoyed it. It was just Steve. Obviously, Steve was in it, and we sat on his panel at FanX Salt Lake, and he was talking about how he's the world's worst detective, and he came back for this. So Steve, Joe, they're all in it.
He's the world's worst.
It was cool, like being the Blues Clues multiverse of madness. That's what this was essentially. They're all trying to get. I can't even remember who the current Blues Clues man is now. I'm so sorry, but they're trying to get him to his audition in New York City. So all that, and there's just an adventure, and Steve and them are trying to find him. And yeah, it was cute. I mean, for Blues Clues, you know, there's one of those shows that everybody grew up on. Steve, Lauren didn't. It was before her or after her time, but that's not a dig either. That's just the 90s was the sweet spot, 90s to early 2000s for a lot of people. And Steve was just that figure, and he's back now. And yeah, so it was cool seeing him back in the Blues Clues world. And for real though, this time that was all I really watched.
So yeah, like I said, I finished Dead to Me. That show just ended. I highly recommend it. It's on Netflix. It's starring Christina Applegate, and I can never remember this person's real name. She's Velma. She's Hawkeye's wife, which
I always forget it too.
She's in ER. She's an amazing actress. James Marsden's in it. They just said this last season is the final season. I think it was only season 3. It's dark humor. So it's actually a show, like Will Ferrell's behind it and Adam McKay, which they do a bunch of stuff together. It is dark. It is funny. It is, it had some sweet stuff to it as well, but there's a lot of murder and stuff. It's a fun show. I say go watch it. And then I also watched the finale to a little show called The Walking Dead. So I will talk about this without ruining it. If you've read the comic, they did try to recreate that, but they only jumped a year rather than a lot. And I think that's because when The Walking Dead finale ended, they then had an end credit scene. And then they said the Walking Dead universe is expanding. And then they announced other projects. So we're having like...
Yeah, I mean, we knew this. Rick and Michonne, aren't they getting their own? Yeah. So yeah, we did see Rick and Michonne, and then they have Dead City, and I think Fear's still going on, and it looks like Daryl's getting his own show, which I didn't know. We announced a while ago Maggie and Negan are getting their own show, so I'm not sure what exactly they're going to do with that. They did not set any of that up necessarily directly. Right. Trying to be vague and whatnot in the finale. I will say I enjoyed it. The show obviously over 11 or 12 years had a lot of ups and downs. It was one of the most popular shows ever too. I mean, it was huge. And but I think a lot of people did stop watching it. And what, held me on for so long was because I loved how the comic ended. Yeah. Matt's pointing at himself, and you're not the only one. Josh used to watch it with me, and he doesn't watch it anymore. He stopped watching. I can't even remember. It's probably around when it was Glenn's death. That's what did it for me.
Josh continued after that. But I did think that they did the finale nice. There was a lot of nods. They mentioned past people more than they usually do. They did do clips from, past people and whatnot, which was nice. And like, you really look at it and you're like, good Lord. Like, I mean, I got into the show probably season 2. So like, I've been on it for a while, but I will say like, the comic book I thought was great from beginning to end. And if you take the comic book on a straight line, the show went back and forth across the line. They replaced a lot of characters. Like there was even a scene with one character in this final episode where it looked like she was going to let a zombie eat her. And that is how Andrea killed herself in the comics when they were at the prison.
Yep.
No, not Andrea. I'm sorry. Andrea was still alive much later on.
Andrea survived much later on.
It was Carol.
Yes.
Carol killed herself like that early on in the comics. So Carol was very weak in the comics, which obviously she's not at all in the show.
She takes over, doesn't she? Oh, I don't want to spoil it. Never mind.
Yeah, she's a badass in the show. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, essentially, she's a badass. Yeah, Billy Badass.
Yeah, but this last season or two, you got to meet Mercer, you got to meet Princess, all these characters that look like, I mean, they were pulled. Mercer and Princess looked like they were pulled right off the comic book papers and thrown on the screen. And Pamela, she's Mallory in The Boys. And we talked about Trains, Planes, and Automobiles last week. She's Steve Martin's wife in that, which I didn't even realize until I was IMDbing her. I'm like, how the fuck did I not realize that this is Mallory from The Boys? And I've been watching this whole season with her in it. But I liked it. I'm glad I stuck around. We'll see what I decide to watch in the future, how much more I want to go into this universe.
Yeah, that's fair. Want to roll into some news?
Let's do it.
Do some news. So I want to go ahead and get somber for a moment because this person, 2 weeks in a row, we've lost somebody very important to my fundamentals growing up and things of that nature. So this one hits really hard. Jason David Frank passed away at 49 to suicide. First and foremost, if anybody is having thoughts of killing themselves, please call 988, talk to a friend, seek help. It's not going to solve all the problems. It's not. It's hard and it's a very difficult conversation to have, but he was really struggling. And so it sucks because he was one of this person, like he created something called God Didn't Tap or Jesus Didn't Tap. He was very religious and it went against all of the foundations of who he was. So it's extra shocking to hear that this had happened. And so there was nothing like it when you're watching Power Rangers and Tommy Oliver shows up and Rita Repulsa has taken him under her control and he just starts whooping the Rangers' ass. And you were like, what? Your mind is blown at this point. And he completely just owns the Power Rangers. And then at the end, he joins them, becomes the Green Ranger, and he takes over kind of the lead as the Power Ranger. And then you get the Power Ranger movie with Ivan Ooze, and the opening sequence to that movie is they're skydiving with, snowboards, and it's got Pearl Jam going. And that, 6-year-old me was absolutely hyped. That was the height of cinema to me back then. I'm like, holy shit, it doesn't get better than this. And so like, he was around the franchise. He was a Power Ranger through and through, once a Ranger, always a Ranger. And he made many appearances. He was the Red Ranger for a time. He made many appearances coming back. He was Lord Dracon. I can never pronounce that correctly. But what he did for the Power Rangers franchise, he pushed it forward. He kept evolving with it. And he was there and he was at Comic-Cons. He was always on the Comic-Con circuit, always just such an incredible, helpful, inspirational human being. And so to hear, he'd been struggling, it's sad. And I hope that anybody who maybe one person listens to this and they're struggling, hey, reach out to us. We're here for you to help. I would hate that somebody get to that point to where that's the only option they have, because it's not the end. Mm-hmm. It's not the end. It's not the answer. The people that you leave behind are going to be hurting just as bad. And, stranger or not, get help better. That's all I can really say. So it sucks to see him having passed away, because that one hits hard. Kevin Conroy the week before, Jason David Frank now. So it's tough, but anyways, moving on from the somberness, Amazon.
Well,
what's up?
Unfortunately, we lost a supernatural person this week too. Nikki Acox, 47. She played Meg Masters in season 1. She also has a cameo in season 4. And, she when I saw that the actress that plays Meg Masters passed away, I thought it was the second one because the woman who replaced her, she didn't replace her to replace her. It made sense in the storyline that the demon was inhabiting somebody else.
Right.
She has MS, but she has not passed away. Nikki Acox is the one that passed away, and unfortunately, she was diagnosed with leukemia last year.
Jeez, man, it is just
so those things
sad.
tend to happen in threes. So hopefully that's it. But
I hope so. It's tough. I mean, especially as we get older. I mean, all the people that we've loved growing up, all the heroes.
But these were people that were too young.
But, I mean, Jason David Frank, 49. Kevin Conroy was like in his 60s. Like,
Nikki was 47.
So they aren't old, and it, you know, and so it's really sad to see people pass this young. And I mean, Chadwick was in his 40s. So again, we just are losing a lot of people. So take care of each other out there, especially during this holiday season. Make sure you're checking in on friends. Maybe you haven't spoken to somebody in a long time. Check in on them. You know, let them normalize letting your bros know that you love them. That's what I always say. And we should be doing more of that. Just, hey, I appreciate you checking in. Hope you're doing well, whatever it may take, because you never know. Somebody might need that. And like I was talking about, though, Amazon, they have formulated a plan to release 12 to 15 films a year in theaters. All right, I guess. I mean, they've had some decent Amazon original films, but the only thing, I know it's hot right now to diss on Marvel, but regardless of how you feel about Marvel is literally the only thing keeping movie theaters open right now. Because if you're not getting people flocking to movies from Marvel, and it's sad. I'm not saying that Marvel's saving cinema, but because I've gone to a ton of movies that weren't Marvel this year. I've saw a ton of movies in theaters, a ton of movies that I really enjoyed in theaters. But the fact of the matter is they don't make as much money as a Marvel movie that's making $1 billion. I mean, maybe Avatar, which Avatar apparently was so expensive to make that it has to make $2 billion to turn a profit. So LOL, James Cameron, to you. But did
it last time.
Yeah, I mean, it became the highest grossing film last time. We'll see what happens this time.
Didn't Endgame knock it out?
Yeah. But then they released Avatar in theater. I don't know. they were like, oh no, you didn't. And so
right.
It was a whole thing. But yeah, I mean, it's a bold strategy. Amazon certainly has money to dump into the films. I mean, they've put a lot of money into The Boys and Invincible and then their own movies. So it'll be interesting to see what movies they put in. 12 to 15 is a lot. Most studios don't even put that many in a year unless you're A24, who's got
that is a lot.
Month.
That's a minimum one a month.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you have to fill 1 to 2 each month. And so is it going to be profitable? Probably not.
Yeah. For me, unless it's Marvel or like a good DC movie, I'm not going in the theater.
Well, yeah.
I'm a little upset. Like the whole, what's the one with Hopper, the Santa one, Deadly Night?
Violent Night. Yeah. It comes out December 2nd. It's in theater. Yep.
I probably won't see that till next year just because I don't want to go to the theater.
Oh, I'm off actually next Friday. So I'm going to go see it in theater.
Yeah.
But no, I get you though. It's hard. Not everybody has the time to go to theater. So they really carve time when they have that one movie they want to see, they go see it in theaters. For me, I get lucky. I get every other Friday off. So I go to the movies. Not everybody has that luxury and not everybody wants to. It's expensive to go to movies, period, anymore. It's expensive to be alive. Who am I kidding? But yeah. So moving on, there's an extended version of the Muppets Christmas Carol coming to Disney Plus on December 9th. And they're putting the song When Love Is Gone back into the film. Apparently it was taken out of the film. We haven't seen it. So they are actually going to be putting that back into the movie and releasing an extended version of the Muppets Christmas Carol. One of our favorite household favorites. This is one that plays on repeat during the holiday season. So that's exciting. And then getting off my soapbox, my last bit of news is that the Wednesday Addams show is now by Tim Burton. It is now out on Netflix. I haven't watched it yet. I'm hoping to start it very soon. So if you've watched it, let us know. But it is out on Netflix now, and I've heard good things.
I wonder why they didn't release it in October. I just feel like...
Yeah, it's curious. I don't know.
For me, I would have been like, ooh, it's a Halloween show. Once it hits Christmas, it's like all I want to watch is Christmas related stuff. I'll watch Wednesday in January.
It's all Hallmark Christmas movies.
And
Jingle All the Way.
It is so funny that I know more like my dad's big into Hallmark Christmas movies and Ian loves them and you love them. And I'm like, none of my girlfriends are like into them. I have one girlfriend down south who's a bit into it, but that's like it. More of the men in my life are into them than the girls in my life. So I have some good news. I'm sure you've seen this, Matt. You've even posted a couple TikToks on our socials about it. Bob Igor has replaced Bob Paycheck, also known as Bob Chapek. He is out. It's hilarious. Some of these memes. So he immediately sent an email to cast members telling them he intends to give the creatives more control again and put the focus back on storytelling. The former Goldman Sachs employee that supposedly worked close to Chapek is also leaving Disney. And Igor, I keep saying Igor, like he's like Frankenstein's assistant. He's the one that actually bought Pixar, Star Wars, and Marvel the last time he was CEO. So he was CEO. He put Bob Chapek in his place. And then he came back. Bob Chapek, for those who don't know, is very hated in the Disney community. He's done everything to get every penny out of all of us, these two sitting right here included. But the stocks were still going down because of people.
He only wanted profit. All he wanted to do was cut costs and churn profit. That's all he wanted. Right.
And the online presence of the quote unquote Disney adults constantly bashing him, they say made the shareholders lose faith and the stocks were going down. And I will tell you, so many of these Disney papers that are very neutral and just report news were praising this, that he was back.
That's how you know.
And right. It's like, it wasn't even like an opinion piece. It's like, yay, he's back. But some of the memes were hilarious. Like apparently Bob Chapek was in office for 999 days. And somebody tweeted like, I guess there's not always room for one more. So like the Haunted Mansion, like there's 999 ghosts and there's always room for one more. So there were definitely some entertaining memes. I mean, like people I know that I follow that like sell Disney related t-shirts were like posting memes and TikToks and the world rejoiced. All right.
Apparently, well, hold on. Apparently one of the things too was like he doing the whole profit thing. Mr. Iger wanted to delay any COVID related staff cuts until the CARES Act, a massive spending bill, like took effect, and Chapek wanted to just move on and do that. So that was another big thing. And there was a couple of CFOs that led the revolution to actually get him removed. So there was also another rumor that Apple might be buying Disney. Did you see that?
I did see that, but I guess that rumor's come up for years now.
Why they, first of all, like, isn't that being a monopoly at this point? Second of all, I don't see the point. So
does that mean the Disney app will actually work better? Because the Disney app sucks.
I never have issues with it. I always have issues with Paramount. That's the one app I have issues with.
No. The Disney Parks app.
Oh. Okay. I got you. I got you. I don't know. Maybe. Anyways.
I don't think that'll happen. We'll see. Well, you see all the shit going on with Ticketmaster where they're saying like Ticketmaster and Live Nation should have never been able to combine because they're a monopoly. And like, there's lawsuits now going on with this Taylor Swift stuff.
Well, good. I mean, Pearl Jam tried to warn us once again. Pearl Jam.
I mean, the anti-monopoly stuff that's there to protect the consumers, and some of these Taylor Swift tickets were insane. All right. So Owen Wilson will be in a movie called Paint coming out April 28th, 2023. This will be a heartfelt comedy that looks like a nod to Bob Ross. The new companion for the next Doctor has been announced, Millie Gibson. I don't know who that is, but she's going to be the next companion. So this one is a bit sad. Chris Hemsworth is taking a break from acting after learning he has 2 genetic predispositions to Alzheimer's. I guess it's a lot of times when people find out they're predisposed to Alzheimer's, they have 1 genetic marker, and he actually has 2, which is very
like
rare.
10 times more likely to get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad. I mean, it's not a guarantee he does get it, especially with modern medicine now making. But
and he has money too. Yeah.
Right. Well, at the same time, though, like knowing that you're at a high risk for Alzheimer's, it's, he was like, I don't want to forget the things that I've done in my life.
Yeah.
That's dementia and Alzheimer's are scary to me because you're alive, but you don't remember anything, and you don't remember your own kids even. Right. It's very heartbreaking and just very sad.
Oh, the day my grandmother didn't know who I was like,
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. So
Yeah.
hey, take all the time you need, man. And he's also talked about how if he comes back as Thor, he wants a different tone, and he wouldn't mind dying.
Aw.
He also Thor should die. He's mentioned that too. So
Oh, whereas before he said, I'll play Thor as long as they let me.
yeah,
Damn.
life changes, man. Life happens.
Yeah. Well, ironically, we did mention on our Hops News podcast tonight that scientists have discovered that especially hoppy beers may have unique health benefits that actually help block the proteins that are associated with Alzheimer's.
Well, good.
So I hope Thor's drinking more of that hoppy beer that he drank in Endgame.
Yeah.
And also there's a National Treasure series coming to Disney Plus on December 14th. And that's it for my news.
Well, it is, but it doesn't have Nick Cage, so I don't want it.
I feel like it can't be a National Treasure movie.
That's what I'm saying. You don't have Nicolas Cage. What are we doing? I don't know, but that's kind of all we have. So we're going to roll into our main topic, folks. I know this is kind of a longer episode, but the second part where we chat with Tommy, who does a lot of good things in the comic book community on Twitter. And then also we're going to talk some Andor. So come stay tuned. We'll be back in just a moment and we'll see you in a second. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. As I said, we have a special guest. Tommy is here to talk about Andor. He's going to wrap it up with us, put a nice little bow on perhaps my favorite thing that Star Wars has come out. So before we get started, though, he does a lot of really cool stuff in the comic book realm, which I'm going to let him talk about here in just a minute. But if you also don't follow him on Twitter, his Droopy McCool, he's all about that life. He's all about everything on there. He's probably one of my favorite Twitter follows out there, just for the pure Star Wars comedic factor. So I'm gonna go and let him introduce himself. Tommy, welcome to the show, man. Tell us about your experience getting into Star Wars, getting into comic book world, and yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Hi, I'm Tommy. I years ago I was at some store and there was this picture of this like kind of, I don't know, I guess you can call him gelatinous, this like white gooey guy that was playing some instrument. And I asked the shopkeep, I said, who is that? And he said, oh, it's from Droopy McCool. It's Droopy McCool. He's my favorite character from one of my favorite movies. I have this picture of him that I put up and I was like, he's amazing. And I asked for more information on what he's from, and he said it's from this thing called Star Wars. So I watched it. It was confusing because I heard it was the third one that I was watching at the time. But he was in it pretty early on, which was nice. But then he wasn't in it a lot after that, and it felt like I'd kind of gotten robbed. So then I was thinking like, oh, there's probably more of him out there, you know, like there's definitely going to be more appearances of that guy in the other franchise. So I watched the prequels, I watched all the other movies. I've been watching the TV shows. I started reading the comics and the books, and he's in it very little. But I've never given up hope that he'd come back. So I would say that's definitely how I got into the franchise. But I've definitely been enjoying it. Not of Droopy McCool, but I've been enjoying it. Yeah.
You know, if in a world where Darth Maul can get cut in half, kick down a shaft, and come back with spider legs and all this stuff, the world deserves a hero. And that hero should absolutely be Droopy McCool, because what is he doing? He's out there just slaying the drums in some universe. Maybe he's in some back world, Tatooine, bar, whatever he's doing, just casually hanging out while the whole entire galaxy goes to shit.
He also has spider legs now. We have to find out why. What happened?
Now we need the backstory to that. We need is it easier to carry his drum set that way? I don't know. There's so many questions that we have to be asked, but
maybe it's part of his legs.
That's true. Could you imagine having legs where just like any musical instrument pops up and you just jam on the spot? Imagine how much money in a subway you could make.
None, probably.
I mean,
people would run away from you. Yeah.
Like,
someone who's been on a lot of subways, people would just kind of leave when you approach them.
Yeah, that's true. Especially on the T, everyone would be like, "Oh, who is this asshole?" They just like either kick away your money, trip you on purpose, or just like throw their Dunkin' Donuts.
Banjo for legs. Guy out of here.
Yeah, but no, you also, I mean, an assistant to doing some. You're obviously the assistant to Charles Soule, but you do comic books yourself, man. Talk about the comics that you create. This is about you.
I have to be serious for a second here. Yeah. I've been dipping my toes in the industry, trying to. I think if I had to pick an audience for what I'm doing, it's more of like a YA kind of thing. But yeah, I have a few stories that I put out. They're available for free on my website. But currently, which is the thing I'm kind of like more into talking about, I'm working on a pretty cool story called The Days, like Days, with a really talented artist named B.A. Roth. It's kind of like a teen horror kind of story. Yeah, so like my general thought process was that like I really like that kind of genre, but I feel like horror for the younger audiences has always kind of been like a Goosebumps, like the lunch lady serving us what, which is obviously amazing. I love that stuff, but also I was thinking maybe there'd be like more of a room to, instead of having it be like silly, goofy horror, like what if the villain was like things that kids are afraid to like talk about or don't fully understand and stuff like that. So if I had to pick like a monster or a scary thing for this story, it's kind of being a kid and being afraid to talk about something, and that like that fear and that anxiety that kind of comes about when something becomes completely unmentionable. So it's a lot of fun though. There's some jokes in there as well.
I like it. No, I like that idea.
If it's my usual thing, yeah. And then from there, we've decided that we're going to kind of do like a Twilight Zone anthology of like stories that fit that similar kind of what could be scary for a younger person kind of thing. We'll see how long that lasts for. Eventually, it's going to be like, ooh, taxes are scary or something. I'm just going to start things. But we're hopefully going to do a Kickstarter with that collection. So it'll be that story with I think 5 or 6 other stories, all with a similar kind of vein. And it'll be like our little Twilight Zone. I'm very excited for it.
That is awesome. And not for nothing, like bearing the lead, you do a lot of cool work because you're willing to send like your comics and things that are geared towards children. You're willing to send them to people who work with children as well, which is really cool and a great way to get kids into comic books and into that realm. Yeah. I'm very lucky and I guess very privileged. I'm currently working 2 jobs and kind of doing writing on the side. So I'm not reliant on like that as an income. And because I just really like telling stories and I really like my favorite thing to do with a story is have someone respond to me saying like, I got it, like I read the story and they wouldn't use these words of it hit me in the way that that you wanted it to, but like they explained it to me and I think, oh, that hit them in the way I wanted it to. And that's so much more important to me than like anything else with the story. Yeah.
So the first groups of stories that I wrote were very much like what was something that I could have used as a kid. That was kind of like the story. Like my favorite books and movies and TV shows are things that I am happy that I now have. So that when I was writing stories, I was thinking like, what could young Tommy have needed to hear? And then like, what's a fun, creative way to tell that specific story in like a sci-fi kind of way or something like that. So that's where all those stories came from. And I'm just very proud of them. And I don't necessarily want to worry about like capitalism when I'm talking about them. So because they're geared towards kids, there's been many situations where people who I know or meet online are in situations where they can give them to kids. And if that's the case and they want some, I just send it to them. No questions asked. I've gotten some pretty positive responses from that. And every time someone says like, oh, I gave it to someone, they really liked it, then it's all worth it. Even if I spend my own cash sending it to them.
I mean, you're doing the Lord's work out there. It's all about like, for me personally though, it's really cool because I'm all about just being a decent human being, which that clearly is right there. It's just, hey, if one person's really into this, then that's one more person that wasn't before and just paying it forward kind of, so to speak, in life. So I think that's a really cool initiative that you do. And I love it. I don't know, man.
Paying it forward often comes back to you too. Cause my daughter, she reads, I can't remember what the comic book is now. It's that like metal stuff. I can't remember it either. Anyway, she's big into this comic book. She meets the writer at MegaCon. She goes up to them and is going on and on and on about how much she loves it. And the guy just hands her a free comic book. It was like a trade back too.
Nice.
And I should know the name because I'm the one that's always picking it up at the comic book shop, but I can't think of the name to save my life now. But yeah, when they see kids, and that's not the first time she's gotten a free comic book either. We were at, when they actually used to do the opening nights big for the Marvel movies where the local comic book shops would come out. And I remember some guy giving her an Iron Man 2 comic, but right when Iron Man 2 came out. And I was like, are you sure? And he's like, damn right, I'm sure. It's my comic book store. And that was smart. And, years later, that's actually my go-to comic book shop that I'm at once or twice a month. So, I mean, you're not only, getting a good message out there, you're also getting future customers.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. Yeah. I think the goal of it is to like, hopefully give them something that they can kind of revisit as they get older. Like a lot of my favorite stories when I was a kid, it's like stuff that I can still go back to these days. So I'm hoping that if I can get in touch with a kid and say, hey, here's a story about like mental health. Good luck finding that topic elsewhere when you're in the school librabri. That's not true. There's so many stories about that.
Not in the 90s.
There weren't when I was
in the 90s when we were all growing up. Heck, absolutely not.
I would say within the last like 5 to 10 years is when it actually became a thing. So granted, I'm not diving into school libraries these days, so I don't really know what the access is, but I want to do my part. I want to like set up kids to have these cool stories that say, hey, it's okay to be afraid in this way, or it's okay to feel this specific way, and this is all normal, even though no one's talking to you specifically about it.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Yeah. So
Lady Mechanica, I just remembered it. That's the comic book that she loves.
You know who made that one? Never heard of it.
I don't. I'd have to look it up. But she like went off on her own at MegaCon, and like I could see her. But she's 19. She's not a little kid.
Oh, okay.
I could like see her, in my site, and she came back with a free one. This was a few years ago, so she's probably 15 at the time. But
God.
I'm like, he just gave it to you, and she's like, yeah.
She stole it.
She robbed.
Well, if it were my 10-year-old, I would be concerned, and then we would go back to the booth. But her, I believe her.
That's so nice.
Oh, it is good. So let's talk about a little show then. Since we are all Star Wars, Lauren's like a new Star Wars nerd. You're very high profile.
I am still low on the newbie scale.
Yes, you are. I recently got her into Star Wars, and then all of a sudden she's hooked. But the rest of us, I mean, this is something. Rogue One, in my opinion, is probably like my favorite there's only so much to pick from non-Force related, but like Rogue One is a masterpiece. It was beautiful. And then what they did with Andor as well, it hit hard. And this is what I've been kind of looking for as far as Star Wars goes, because I've wanted to see the rebellion being born. I wanted to see like these regular people every day across the galaxy. Like, how did this all get started? And then this is exactly what we got. And Cassian Andor is one of my favorite characters in Star Wars now. So the show just wrapped up today, 12 episodes taking place over the first year. And they actually just started filming yesterday for season 2, which is going to be the final season. Wow. Unfortunately, I'm a little broken. I wish we can get 5+ seasons of this, but I understand if things run too long, then they start to lose their charm. But yeah, they just started filming season 2. Let's talk initial reactions. So Lauren, I'll let you go first. What was your initial reaction for Andor, the way it wrapped up, and the season overall?
I really loved it overall because, you have so many of those quotes in there, and there's so much paralleling, and Luthen, makes the comment of, rebellions are built on oppression. And like, we've only seen the higher ups. We've only seen, the military people and the special people with the Force. And like, we're actually getting, some shit were to go down here. Like, we're getting the boots on the ground perspective. We're getting the you'd see Obi-Wan walk by, and you would see the people that were being impacted, but now we're actually with the people who are being impacted. So I actually have really loved it. Mon Mothma, I've seen her in Rogue One, I've seen her in Rebels,
I love her so much,
and all that. Like, I have a whole newfound respect for her. I mean, she was badass in those, but I don't know what it was in this. Maybe just seeing her live that double life, and like seeing the struggle and dealing with her, very kept husband, which I'm not sure if he's a bad guy or if he's just a spoiled, obnoxious person. Like,
don't gotta pick one. Could be both.
That's true.
He could be both, but I almost feel like he's too self-indulgent to care about a cause, and that he only wants to enjoy himself. And I feel like there's resentment for her because she wants to do something better, and he doesn't want to. He just wants to have fun. But no, I absolutely am loving it. Yeah, like Matt said before, I am still a fairly new Star Wars fan. The only reason I finally gave these movies a chance was because half of Hollywood studios became Star Wars. And then when Matt told me to watch the cartoons, it just made pieces fit together so much better. And all these Disney Plus shows are just doing that even more. So yeah, I'm absolutely loving it. And it's so ridiculous. Every time a new Star Wars property comes back, I'm like, well, now I need to watch everything in chronological order again, because it makes everything new that comes out, makes all of it more fun.
Yeah.
Did you go to Galaxy's Edge before watching the movies?
No, actually, well, my mom made me watch the first one when I was little, and I didn't jump on the bandwagon then. And then when they started, because they only had like Star Tours, and then they had a little area. So they closed down this one area that was just meet and greets and like the artist alley to do the meet and greets with Star Wars and have like this little mini museum. So then when they closed everything to create Galaxy's Edge, I remember we were watching the fireworks that night, and they had Vader was in the fireworks. And I looked at my daughter, who I don't remember how old she was. I forget now. And I'm like, we need to watch these movies to make this park more fun, because I'm watching Vader up there and emotionally it's doing nothing for me when all these other Disney properties and Marvel moves me in these shows. So yeah, we started watching them. And then when Matt and I started this podcast, he started giving me, because I thought Clone Wars was a kid show. And I think at first it was, and then it evolved. And, you know, some of the episodes are for kids and aren't great, and some of the episodes are amazing. And I always just thought, you know, Anakin was just a whiny bitch. And I didn't understand why Padme died giving birth. Like, she had all the will to live now. She had these babies. As a mother, that didn't make sense to me. And then when Matt's like, no, he sucked her life force. And like, then I watched the evolution of Anakin. I was like, oh, okay, I get it more. Gotcha. So by the time Galaxy's Edge opened, I had seen the movies, but not the
Gotcha. I was going to ask you just questions of what it's like going to Galaxy's Edge, just being like, I don't know what any of this means. This is confusing.
Well, I will say I'm a muggle and I'm not into Harry Potter at all. And my daughters made me watch the movies. And when I first went to Diagon Alley, I was like, this is what people who go to Disney probably feel like. Wow, this is impressive, but it's not doing anything for me.
One day I'm going to get, like Lauren gets to go to all these places every day. I'm just sitting there like, you don't deserve it. How dare you stand where he stood?
I'll allow that for Universal, but I deserve Marvel though. And well, I mean, I don't have Disneyland. I have Disney World. So we just have Cosmic Rewind, which is amazing.
It's true. That's true.
You're about to say Cosmic Rays. I got really excited.
But
yeah, you do.
It's there last week.
Oh, it's so good. I love that place.
But Tommy, give me your thoughts. Oh, yeah. What did you feel? What were your thoughts on the show?
I just want to talk about Disney World now.
Oh, we'll have you back for that.
We can literally just talk about Disney World the whole time.
That I can talk about anytime. I heard Cassian's going to be in Galaxy's Edge, so we could talk about Ronto wraps instead. No, it was a very. I'm trying to think of an original thought to have, because everyone at this point is just like, it was really good.
Did we find out what the bricks were about, by the way? Have we gotten an answer?
Yeah, but I don't know if you want me to say it on your show. It's like a well-known person was complaining about it, basically, is what I've gathered.
We can talk. We'll talk offline then. Yeah, because I was very confused. But there was this whole thing on Twitter. He asked, what to go ahead and thoughts for the show, and somebody brought up bricks, and I was sitting like, I have no idea what this means either. So
yeah, anyways. But by the time this comes out, I think it'll be a big enough meme that people are going to be like, oh, they got in on the ground floor there. So just wait on that one. The bricks and screws or something. It'll come up.
Got you.
So I hated Andor because of the bricks and screws. A joke will land later. No, but I thought it was exactly what I wanted out of a Star Wars TV show. And talking about this stuff is always really tough, because I feel like people, the second a thing that's Star Wars related comes out, people will start making it compete with other Star Wars things. So it's hard to praise something that is new and different without making it sound like, or having people assume that you're knocking something that just came out.
Yeah.
So I really, really liked it because it felt like this big, long epic of a story. It's the first like TV show that I felt like a TV show, and not just kind of like a movie that's been cut up a bit, like all like the multiple arcs that tied into the big finale and had like the overarching stories. Like that was a TV show, like that gave everyone time to evolve and get there. And it just showed the whole time, and it almost made me want Rogue One to have been a TV show. Like I think. If it was developed at that time, granted, it would have been a very different product in the end. But like when I watched Rogue One, my like main thing coming out of it was like, I have already forgotten the names of every character in this. Like by the time I got home, I was like, I don't remember anyone's name, and they're all dead now. It was a very beautiful movie, had a lot of amazing action scenes. I loved a lot of the moments in it, but all the characters that I just met are now dead, and I already forgot who they were.
There's like two people you remember from the whole movie, and it doesn't matter because they are actually all dead. I felt the same way because it was like, wow, we just spent like 2 hours with these people. I don't remember their names.
Yeah,
exactly. They're all cannon fodder.
They were responsible for getting the Death Star plans, and we don't even know their names.
Yeah. So now watching Andor, I'm like, imagine you had like a whole season leading up to that. Like each character gets their own episode. Like you find out exactly who they are. And then that final battle happens with the Death Star hitting. Like that would have, like people would, like Twitter would have, no one would be tweeting. We'd all be like, all the lights would be off in our rooms. We'd all be in our beds with like the blankets over us, just like recovering from that moment. It was just, it would wreck the economy. So yeah, I mean, that's what it comes down to. This is so well done that it's making me like older stuff less because I want more from that now. But yeah, no, I think this is kind of, I think, a foundation for what future things are going to be held to. I do think they might have to tone down some of, like, it's not an overly intelligent show, but I think some of the criticism of the rise of fascism, while it is really important to have in there, they might tone it down for like kids later, you know? But like, I can't imagine them doing another project that isn't up to the standards of like respecting the audience and like growing the universe. Because a lot of the stuff so far is almost, I think Mandalorian is so its own thing that it doesn't need to touch anything else. Like it doesn't need to touch the universe. It's basically a father-son story. Yeah. Whereas then something like Kenobi was very much, here's the characters you love. Here's a little snippet of their lives that just to like bring back everyone, like get the band back together, have some fun, call it a day. Whereas this one feels like we're making this bigger now, even though you thought you knew what this was, but like no, like you moron. There's so much more you're missing here, and that's what I think I liked about it the most. I liked learning about the universe that I thought I knew so much about already, which is really cool.
Well, it keeps it
cool
fresh.
That they were able to expand. Yeah, exactly. Like it's almost shocking that they were able to make the Empire feel new again, just by like showing them slightly more in depth. Yeah. And I like that.
I agree.
And I love the conflicted villains because we didn't really see, like, I found myself rooting for Deidre just because the Empire is misogynistic. And then I'm like, wait, no, she's bad. Don't root for her.
Stop. No, she's over here torturing poor Bix. But
right. Well, once she did that, I was no longer on her side.
It does bring up a good point, though, right? Like the Empire, we thought we knew the Empire. Like when you talk about the old stuff, everything was so black and white. We have the original trilogy. We had the rebels who were good from a certain point of view, and we had the Empire. They're bad. Darth Vader bad. Emperor bad. You saw the Emperor, the Empire. You throughout the trilogy, you're like, oh, there's nothing that really made them scary. Stormtroopers would constantly miss, and that's a whole.
They did not miss in this.
Well, we'll get to that.
In that last episode, they were hitting people.
Oh, they did not miss. Yes, but so they kind of almost felt like a joke. Whereas, you know, you get to Andor, and you're like, yeah, it's going to be just about them starting the rebellion. Cool, we're going on an adventure again. But no, it was a 3-part story almost, like going to where we started, where he goes to the planet, he meets the crew, and goes to Aldhani, and they steal the money. That felt like such a long time ago, and then they get stuck on, you know, the prison, and then that felt like its own sequence, Narkina 5, and then from there he breaks out, and then he ends up back at Ferrix, and then this whole sequence. So you're right. I think 12 episodes is perfect because it let everything kind of breathed and the story flowed naturally. It wasn't like, oh crap, we're on episode 5. We're ending next week. How do we wrap this up and put a bow on it when we have 30 minutes? It was like, no, we got 40 to 50 minutes to really let each episode to tell their story beautifully and give a backstory to a character that we spent 2 hours with and we know what happens to him. And so to show the Empire and like, oh, this is why they're scary. They are out here torturing people. They really are ruthless, and they give you that backstory, and you're just like, man, I was just gripped every single week because it's getting the things that I've always wanted personally. It's like, all right, why is Empire so bad? Oh, this is why, and we're starting to see it. Oh, they really don't like so and so, and at the end, it all loops back. Like they had people building Death Star parts, and it was beautifully, because obviously this is a little spoiler filled thing, but Andor was building pieces for the Death Star, which is ultimately going to be what kills him. So just You're right.
I started laughing when they zoomed out and it was the Death Star. I thought it was just so like perfect because yes, he's building what inevitably kills him, but he also helped delay that at the same time from getting built. Because they always said there was delays in what was the Stardust? What was the code name or whatever?
Stardust.
And part of the delay had to have been these prison rebellions and whatnot.
Well, yeah. And not to mention, like, you weren't wrong. The stormtroopers did miss. It was literally the Boston Massacre at Ferrix.
Yeah, they were actually aiming. They usually don't like look and try to aim. They were trying to aim, and they were actually, as soon as I saw like that one of them aim and hit someone, I was like, whoa, this is
Did anybody else notice when they were hitting people, it looked like there was actually like pink mist coming up, or it might have been sparks. But at first it looked like when they were hitting them, I was like, oh, wow, they actually like, they're making connections. You're seeing blood and stuff. I was like, oh, this is brutal.
Right. And it was your run of the mill white stormtroopers. Like they weren't the black ones, the death troopers or whatever. They weren't the red ones. They were nothing special. They were your regular run of the mill stormtroopers.
My headcanon is once they got the Death Star built, Emperor Palpatine was like, we got this big thing. Like, we don't have to train them as much anymore. They'll be fine. Like, train them to operate the machinery. Like, they don't need to worry about the guns. We got this big planet thing. Like, why are we going to shoot one person when we can destroy the whole planet? Who cares about the guns?
You remember that old mob that happened? Yeah, we don't need to put training in it. We'll just wipe the planet off the Earth.
Exactly.
Wipe out of the galaxy, not the Earth. But yeah, that is true. We got to cut costs somewhere. This thing cost a lot of money to build. Okay, I'm running out of cash.
It's like that old theory. What were you going to say?
Oh, no, go ahead with your theory.
Oh, no, that's one of my theory. But I was just saying, it's like, I don't know if it's like confirmed or if it's just like a fan rationalization where they say that the tech in the prequels feels more advanced than the tech in the original trilogy because the Empire is like siphoning money out of just normal everyday people to put into weaponry. Mm-hmm. That's my thought process for the Stormtroopers' abilities. So they siphon out Stormtroopers working in like the military training and putting them just into like chairs where they press buttons and then destroy a planet.
I do love that they really do mix like the 70s technology or lack thereof with today's technology. And I feel like Andor did a great job, in this. And I think all the Star Wars properties kind of do, all the prequels and whatnot to an extent, because you still see those ridiculous buttons. It's like, what do all these buttons do? Like, what did they think in the 70s you were going to need all these random buttons for? But I mean, they always said Star Trek, I guess, predicted the future better because they had iPads, but now on Star Wars, they have iPads. But what I was actually going to say, there is a nod to Disney in episode 11, Daughter of Ferrix. So Zenwin, and that's the guy who told him his mom was dead. In his office, he has like the ship schematics on the screens. I did not pick this up. I saw this in a video I watched. You can actually see the Utilipede transport, which I'm probably butchering. And that is actually the ship above Docking Bay 7 right next to Ronto Roosters. And that's the ship that has, at Galaxy's Edge, it has the boxes on it that says 77, 80, and 83, which is a nod to the movies. So There's my Disney Easter egg.
Interesting.
No one's eating a Ronto wrap in this one, though.
That place is so randomly open, though. They're not, like, a lot of times they're closed.
God, that's why I wasn't in Andor. It was closed during Andor. That makes sense.
That's true. They closed down. They knew, they got word of the mob, and so they're like, no, we got to close this down. I'm sorry. And then they had no time on the beach scene. He got arrested right away. He was running to go get one, and that's why they arrested him.
There you go. That would have been really good fitting, though, if there was just people on the beach eating Ronto wraps. That would have been really nice. Oh, that would have been amazing.
Would have been.
We got Bob Iger back. Maybe
we got to retroactively add that.
Give me the Iger cut. All right, so Lauren, I know you got some Easter eggs for us as we kind of talk more about the episodes. Why don't you hit us with a few Easter eggs that you definitely did not see from somebody else's video, but you saw from somebody else's video?
This is original content.
This is straight original right here.
So I follow the whole like school research approach. Anytime I research anything beer or geek, I go to multiple different websites. I watch multiple different videos, and then I take a little bit from everywhere. I do give credit to the videos. I will get to them in a minute.
No, don't give any credit. This is all you.
Yes, it's all me.
We all watched the same show. It's fine.
Sucker, you caught these.
I also research articles too. So some of the fun facts I have are, so writer and executive producer of the show, Tony Gilroy, he was the lead writer on the rewrites and reshoots on Rogue One, A Star Wars Story in 2016. And that's obviously where Cassian Andor first appeared. So he was already invested in this character, knew how to move this character. The lettering showing which planets they're on actually matches Rogue One.
I was gonna say the show is technically a reshoot of Rogue One if you think about it.
That's true.
It's just the very abstract avant-garde reshoot of Rogue One.
What if they actually hit us with like, yeah, season 2 ends up to Rogue One's events? What if they just like, you know what, we're gonna do a season 3 and we're just gonna do Rogue One all over again?
I mean, Rogue One ended with the beginning of episode 4, so it makes sense to like sync it like that. They might as well at this point.
They did say they're going to end 2 and go right into Rogue One. So I'm wondering how much right into it will be, because I've never seen the Rogue One to episode 4 was the most. I mean, it's one long
I can tell
scene.
you've never read my articles over at Dork Side of the Force. It's okay, because had you read my articles and stolen my ideas, you would know all of this already.
But I have read your articles. The ones you send me, I read.
Oof. Betrayed.
Maybe that's where I got my fun facts. I don't ever reveal my source. I have to protect my source. I'm like Lois Lane.
Anyways.
All right. So Cassian's blaster is a Briar pistol, which was introduced in Star Wars Dark Forces in 1995. It's actually a game that is set in but it's not canon. So with the release of Star Wars Battlefront in 2015, the pistol was adapted into the official canon. And this series marks the first live action appearance of the blaster. So moving on to episode 1, Casa. So this actually starts and they show BBY-5, which is the battle before Yavin. I remember having to Google that not long ago. So they are actually showing, but that was never I had to Google it because I read an article, probably one of Matt's articles. And that's where I learned that it was Battle Before Yavin. This is the first time you actually see on screen where they're giving you the year like that. We've talked about before for Mandalorian and Boba Fett, they used this whole new process where they went around. It was like a 360 view with screens and whatnot and make them look like things were really happening, but they weren't happening. For Andor, they actually did use practical sets. They built a whole town. Ferrix is real. And they said in doing that, it kind of gave you got to see more of those people on the ground. You got to see the random people doing things in the background, just living their lives and whatnot. So I think it did add an extra element that Mando and Boba didn't need to, because those shows were focused on
well, everything was like a volume stage. So it kind of, you could tell at certain points, like that part in the Kenobi episode where they're storming the holdout, the penultimate episode there where they're storming the holdout and everything like that. It felt like a volume set, whereas they were on scene, on location for Andor, and it really felt beautiful and vast and green in most parts. It felt real and nice, and because it was.
Which goes back to the original movies where they went out to the desert and had to wait because it was
back in
unreasonably hot. And then they went to, where did they film Hoth?
I don't remember, but they went to Tunisia for Tatooine. So,
well, then they went somewhere really cold for Hoth, and it was like too cold to even leave the hotel room. So they went back, boots on the ground, literally. The BB-8 puppeteer voiced B2 Emo. Wobani. The Wobani run was mentioned in the first episode, and that's actually the prison that Jin was at the beginning of Rogue One. My last fun fact for this episode is the alien who the one dude tries to use to intimidate Andor, which this guy comes back the last episode and brats out Cassian. It doesn't end up well for him. Well, the big guy that was like an alien, it's the same actor who plays the giant in Game of Thrones. His name's Ian White, and he's 7'1", and he got to play him on set and voice him. So I thought that was pretty cool. Actually, I was kidding. I have one more fun fact. Pegla, the one guy who's actually his friend, is Jamie Tartt's asshole dad.
Oh yeah, that's right. I knew
that guy's got range
from somewhere.
Huh.
Well, I do have a question though for you guys. Who was your least favorite character and who was your most favorite character? We can't, not naming Cassian. You can't, because that's obvious. That's mine. That would be mine. So we got to name who was your least and your most favorite character out of this entire first season so far. A hard-hitting questions. Look, I'll tell you straight up. It's
Do you have people in mind?
Me? Yeah. Mon Mothma is my favorite. First, I don't know. Because I have mom issues somewhere along the way that I have I just love Mon Mothma. Undying. I would die for her straight up. I would. And then my least favorite was definitely Deidre. I mean, I thought she was okay at first, but she was just brutal. And I was like, man, don't hurt my girl Bix like that. And then the way she was acting all scared and everything, she was just an asshole. And my least favorite, but in a good way, at least favorite, because I don't really have anybody I hated other than her, but she did a good job at making you hate her.
I think
Oh my
mine.
gosh, it's so hard.
What was his name? Was it Skeen? Skeen, right? How do you pronounce it? I forget him. I already forgot. As I said, I forget these names really fast.
Oh, the Korean guy?
We're really bad with names here. You're good.
The one in the heist that was going to steal the money.
Yes,
I was just thinking of him, but I don't know his name
He plays
at
in
all.
the bear. It's Skeen. Yes.
Yeah, I was right. I'm good. I'm proud of myself. I want to say he's my least favorite. Like, one, because I have a theory that he wasn't actually trying to betray the group, and he was trying to like bait Cassian to see if he was going to betray the group. Mainly just because it felt really out of character for him. Like, he seemed really involved in the whole thing.
It was a heel turn out of nowhere.
Yeah. Like the thing that we knew about him this whole time was that he didn't trust Cassian. And then all of a sudden he was like, hey, Cassian, what if we split the money? And then Cassian shoots him for trying to steal the money. But in my brain, I really thought that was him being like, the second Cassian kind of gives in, I'm going to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought Cassian would have been like, you're not going to trick me this time. But then he shot him. And he was like, I thought it was also funny because he shot him. He's like, hey, don't betray my friends. And then Cassian stood up. He's like, time to go betray my friends. And then put the gun at them too. Like, what was his end game there at that point?
It really was out of nowhere though. Like, it bothered me because I was with you. I was like, there's no way this is a trick, right? And then when he shot him, I was like, wow, that was... What if it was just a prank, bro? We didn't even get to that point. Like, it didn't feel natural.
Yeah,
that was a very quick trigger finger for sure.
Yeah. And I think if he had like a little bit of a not trustworthy side to him, it would have made more sense. But the thing, as I said, the thing we knew about him was that he didn't trust Cassian.
Yeah.
So it just felt odd. So I guess he was my least favorite character because technically he was a jerk, but also his whole thing confused me a bit.
Yeah.
And then favorite characters just B2 Emo, I think.
Oh my God. They make you feel for this droid. It's incredible, right?
I didn't hear who you said it first. Yeah, that was the most precious droid ever.
I think it's just like, not only do you kind of just love him, but also the fact that he cares. Like, there's definitely like BB-8 cares about Poe a whole lot, and everyone else in the story by the end of it. But like, he's the first one that feels so like deeply emotionally attached. It might be like because he's the only like droid that we kind of deeply know that isn't like tied to some kind of like military reasons. You know, like every other droid that we've met is like a part of the rebellion or part of the Empire or something. So like, it's cool to see one that's essentially just like a golden retriever for a family that just like wants.
I like
some
that
head
comparison.
pats and,
yeah,
I think
loved.
Exactly. And then when he's all alone, he's like all alone. Like, it's so sad. So yeah, he's someone that I like saw, and I was like, I hope he becomes the next C-3PO and R2-D2 just shows up and everything. He's just kind of in the background. He's chilling. He's having a really fun life. And no one's ever pushing him over again.
Would C-3PO be like a Chihuahua then? Like, I want comparisons for the other droids.
He doesn't really get feisty.
Yeah.
He just always runs away. So I don't know, like a
C-3PO is like one of those like Great Dane. Like, I would say he's like one of those really big, like tall, lanky dogs that, well, like a really low energy one that's just kind of in the way when you're in the kitchen. That's kind of how I see him. Like, he just has a lot of limbs, and you're like, I'm just trying to go to the garbage.
All right.
Lauren,
so I think my least favorite is going to be, I think his name was Tim, the guy that got jealous of Cassian and then ratted him out.
And, well,
but I mean, he got his, what was it?
Snitches get stitches. And
I wrote that in the doc. Snitches get stitches. Yeah. And then I have to agree with Matt. Like, I just went on about her. Like, Mon Mothma was definitely my favorite. Every scene with her, she just reeks of like, she's just intelligent and she's classy and she's just has a good heart and is struggling. Like, she's willing to sacrifice what people think about her to do what's
she
for the best. Even
her daughter's hand in marriage just for the rebellion, essentially.
But unfortunately, I think that's what her daughter wanted.
Yeah.
They didn't say it was a marriage. She said it was a meeting.
Yeah. Sorry.
Big Game of Thrones energy at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it's very arranged marriage. Yeah, we're just meeting. We're going out for a talk real quick. Next thing you know, you're married 16 years down the road. You got 3 kids. You didn't know where your life went. Okay.
But I always thought the whole Padme thing was odd, like how young she was. And then they talked about like, oh, that was their culture where they married very young and she was been a senator since she was 15. It's like, who decided on this stuff? Like, who came up with these rules? This is insane.
It's a galaxy far, far away. Okay. George R. R. Martin. I don't know. I
Actually, speaking of Tim, I had the observation that I feel like all of the in the first arc, all of the initial problems that Cassian faces is because he's too hot. Like in the very first scene, he goes to like the brothel type place, and the host of there like immediately goes to him because she's like, "Look at this guy," and then he starts asking his questions, but she's like only over there because she's like, "Hey there."
She's like, I thought we were gonna have something here, but you're asking about your sister. What are we doing? That's weird.
It's like Zoolander's origin story.
Usually, you gotta pay me a lot more to talk about your sister while we do this. And then Tim gets jealous of him just because he's simply talking to Bix. So yeah, it's just his main. What is it? Hubris? What's the English term? The English old.
I not even hubris.
It's too
hubris
hot.
is like
Marsha was gonna.
No, his downfall is the fact that he's just a very attractive man. Like that's the whole thing. This whole thing could have been avoided if he wasn't so beautiful.
Well, he looks sweet and non-threatening.
That's what girls like. That's what men hate.
And then he's killing you in a back alleyway.
True.
Like in men hate.
It's very Dahmer energy.
Ooh.
Relax. I'm just going to ask you about my sister. So before we get to like predictions for season 2 and stuff like that, Lauren, do you just want to give us a couple more like Easter eggs that you found, and then we'll go ahead and talk about our favorite episode and then predictions before we wrap up?
Yep. All right. So the ship that Marva rescues Cassie in, it's actually the same ship we see later where he's storing stuff in it, but it's stripped. Let's see. We have some more fun facts. And so
no, I don't want to critique you too much. Can you deliver these like you're like a trendy YouTube list video?
Like I'm on YouTube?
Number 7.
Yeah.
Here's your fun fact number 7 from episode 4.
There we go.
Aldani.
Yeah.
So this is the first time we're seeing Aldani. In Luthen's shop, there's a ton of Easter eggs. I mean, if you pause it, you can find a lot of these on your own.
Gilroy didn't even know what was in there. He said that people were just putting stuff in there and he didn't even know what all the Easter eggs were.
That's amazing.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, one of the things I noticed, and then I later saw it on a video to confirm it, they had the Mayan calendar. So they didn't even just have Star Wars stuff. They did have one of the things somebody said, and I noticed this too, it looked like Padme's helmet. Like one of those weird things she wears on her head.
Yep. And then one of the Old Republic armors is in there too.
Yeah, and you see Mandalorian armor, and then there's the Calicori, which you see Admiral Thrawn holding in Rebels. That's like the family history of like the Twi'lek family, the heirlooms. They had one of those. Somebody said that they thought there was a Indiana Jones one. I did not see that. I don't know if that's true, but that wouldn't surprise me.
I remember seeing screenshots of that. Like when the episode came out, and then I never noticed it in the actual episode. It's like something with carbonite, like a carbonite or something.
Yeah, it was funny. Like a big thing for about a week, and then everybody just kind of stopped talking about it, and I never noticed it in the episode either.
Well, I mean, we were in there more than once, so I think new Easter eggs got picked up. But one of them, like that big hammer thing he's holding, that's from the planet where Obi-Wan killed Grievous. So there's a lot of stuff in there. I almost felt like it was like, that end scene in She-Hulk where you could pause it and you see all the shoes, and then you saw the Deadpool shoe and you're like, oh my God, all these are in the MCU. Yeah. Oh, I did that. There's a lot of characters on there. All right. So that's episode 4. So we're moving along. And now our next, I can't keep up that energy.
Just give it a number. Number 11.
Number 11. Your next fun fact is. So this is this is from episode 8, Narkina 5. This is not Sandy Serkis's first appearance in Star Wars. I think a lot of people already know this, but he was also Supreme Leader Snoke. So I hadn't watched this yet, and I saw an article that was like, Andy Serkis is, comes back as a different character. I'm like, who the hell was he before? I didn't realize he was Snoke.
Oh my God.
Side note,
doesn't look like Snoke.
I am not one that thinks that because it's the same person means it's the same person in some way. Like I'm not connecting those dots. I understand an actor can play multiple roles in that way, especially one that's CGI.
You weren't like, oh wow, Snoke, this is his origin. He can't swim, so he almost drowns, and he gets maimed by the Empire, and now he's force powered.
But I'm thinking, and this is what I'm kind of hoping, that if they want to do that like lame connection, I think it would be cool if because the way every show works, he's coming back for season 2. That's my main prediction. There's no way he died. If they don't show it in,
that's how I feel.
Floaties or something.
If he didn't die
surrounded by
on
water.
Screen, he's still alive.
There's life preservers there. Come on, it's 100%. Like a ship. You're not going to not have life preservers on a ship.
And I think it would be kind of cool if in season 2 he becomes a like rebellion leader. Like he becomes a big name in the rebellion. Like everyone loves him. Like he's clearly a leader. They set him up to be a leader. I think it would be cool if he becomes such a leader that he's known by the Empire. So eventually he gets his like comeuppance, like the Empire captures him in some way, shape, or form. And then like Palpatine sees this and like, oh, this is like the DNA of a leader, like someone who's going to take over the galaxy. So then he uses him as the Jango Fett, like Snoke template. Because he's like how they saw Jango Fett as like a warrior who could like create these clones. They're like, oh, this is a leader. I'm going to use him to make Snoke. So I feel like that would be if they had to connect it, and it's not just this actor coming back to have a round 2 and have some fun. I think that would be a cool way to connect it.
They could. They really could. You could connect it ways. And I had that thought process too. So that would make a lot of sense if they really want to. I hope they don't. But
now, do you think Luke Skywalker was force projecting himself into that drunk alien at the casino in The Last Jedi?
That was my go-to example for when people were calling it out of me originally. And the answer is yes. Yes, I do think and I think that's why he was all wonky and drunk, was because there was just a lot going on with the force.
A bit too much blue milk with tequila.
Exactly.
Oh, Lauren, you have a fun fact for episode 10, One Way Out.
So I also have one real quick for episode 8. This is from Screen Rant is where I got some of these. He's my favorite to watch after a Marvel or Star Wars show. So THX 1138 is a 1971 American social science fiction film directed and co-written by George Lucas. So I've never seen this film, but in this film, there are many parallels to the prison to Narkina 5. It's a dystopian future in which the population is controlled through android police, and there is mandatory uses of drugs that suppress emotions. So there's a whole lot of parallels direct, between that, where, you have the droids controlling them and they're in all white and they escape. And I don't know if that was intentional or not, but when I was watching the video that was comparing them, it seemed like there was way too many things for it to be just a coincidence. So my fun fact for episode 10, this is a fun one. So the guy who dies in the prison and they are bagging him up, and that was obviously a pivotal moment because that was the point where Andy Serkis was like, this is how many people there are. Do you want to say this, Matt?
No, go ahead. What did you originally put in this document, please?
What did I originally put? Oh, no, it was Michael Keaton.
Are we talking about
Bale?
Are we talking about Batman Begins when the guy's like shooting and he's like, where are you? And he comes down and goes, I'm Batman. Or is he like,
he says, who are you? To which he replies, I'm Batman.
That's in Batman Begins when.
All right, I'm going to fact
check. You guys took a jump that I'm not a part of anymore.
So the guy who passed away, he's in one of the Batman films, and Batman's like holding him up and he goes, who is he, the Joker? You? And he's not the Joker. He's a random bad guy.
Gotcha.
And he's like, I'm Batman.
God, they just replay this. They could. I mean, it's very possible that every Batman movie has a scene where he's just like, "I'm Batman" to some character.
Michael Keaton is Batman.
Yeah, but there was also a sequence in Batman Begins where the guy was shooting. They're in the. I think
he just, isn't that the one where he just kind of yells like "swear to me" and like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he's like, "Who are you?" And he goes, "I'm Batman." Or it could have been like, where are you here? And then he takes him out. So it could have been two different things. Anyways.
And then Ben Affleck has one where he's like, I'm Batman.
All right. If there's any more fun facts, Matt, you can take them away. There's fun facts for episode 11. Take them away while I fact check this.
We'll wrap up our fun facts here real quick. So episode 11, Daughter of Ferrix. The ship looking for the escaped prisoners is a TIE Reaper designed for Rogue One and holds the Death Troopers. The fishermen have both played other aliens at other times in the Star Wars universe. No one is hanging out on the beach at this time. Did the stormtroopers scare everybody away? I don't know. Probably, when they go back there. Speaking of, I forget his name now, but the guy he escaped the prison with is actually one of the guys who dies at Scarif in Rogue One. I didn't know that for the longest time. And then I read another article. Surprise, stealing other people's work. Saw there's a resting ship was designed for episode 4. It didn't get used then. There was a nod to Disney. So Zenwin, the guy who told him his mom was dead, he had an office which had, you're talking about
that's one I had mentioned
Disregard.
Before.
Oh gosh. So we're on to the season finale, Rick's Road. Deidre shows up with Death Troopers, and they actually are called Death Troopers because there were rumors that they were undead and that the Emperor wanted to play into that fear. And then the casino Mon Mothma mentions is the one in The Last Jedi. So going into what was your favorite episode? And then what are predictions you have for season 2 and beyond? Well, not beyond because season 2 wraps it up, but okay.
It was
Lauren,
Michael
you're right.
Keaton.
Okay, you're fair. All right, you got me this time. Everybody gets one.
Most of the time you're right. When you call me out, most of the time you are correct.
I
win this round. It's because I was alive in 1989.
Yeah, well, you're also alive during the Cold War, so.
All right.
Anyways, what was your guys' favorite episode? And then what predictions and things do you want to see in season 2?
Do you have any Cold War fun facts for us? I'm gonna drop some.
Back in her day, she had to hide under their desk for nuclear war.
Oh, that was my grandparents. Come on. No, this is my parents, not my grandparents.
I'll go. Favorite episode. I forget the name. I think it was One Way Out is the one where they escaped. So I'm gonna say that one.
Beautiful.
But that one was also a product of just the arc in general. Like I think that one was just so like masterfully done. I think they could have, if it was like a 6 episode long season and most of the show was the prison, him escaping from it, wouldn't have been as good of a show. But like I would have still been happy if like that was like what they focused on. I don't think it would have done much for Andor or Cassian's character, but I really liked
it was great.
The planning and all like the personalities and the evolution of like winning over some of them, and like there was just, and like there felt like a nice amount of danger. It almost like felt like going back to watch like Squid Games or something.
Yeah,
but less sad. So yeah, no, I definitely like that one. And then season 2 prediction. I'm gonna avoid the obvious jokes of just knowing what Rogue One is, but I do think I think it's going to be like a Cassian Luthen buddy cop story, but buddy cop empire story, or not buddy cop rebellion story, of them just like ragtagging it along. Like I think Luthen's going to realize that to build a rebellion, you need to start from the bottom and work your way up. You can no longer try to raise millions and millions of dollars. You have to affect people in the way that he saw on Ferrix, and it's going to be Cassian being his muscle basically, and his strategy and his like I've been watching Better Call Saul. He's going to be his Mike Ehrmantraut, and just getting stuff done. And that's my prediction. They're going to be working together, and then Mon Mothma's going to be back. She's going to be navigating a more Game of Thrones like thing of this criminal guy that's given her a bunch of money, and then she's eventually going to bail on all of that again and go into like the military general role when Luthen and Cassian build up their rebellion that they're going to start. Nah, that's it.
That's fair. I can see it. Lauren, what do you got?
I think One Way Out. Yeah, that was my favorite. It was the most feel good episode. And, you had a lot of downtrodden episodes. So it was nice to kind of get that victory. I mean, he's going to survive because how he's going to die, but it was still kind of nice to see that and to see him be a leader and whatnot. As far as predictions for season 2, I mean, I think we're going to see more of Saw Gerrera. Obviously that relationship has to be built. I don't know. Because when he meets Jin, he's kind of like cold and she senses that he's cold. So I think he's not fully there yet. So I think he's going to become more like Saw in season 2. And we're going to see him go a little more, I guess, dark side.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I'm very excited to find out. And I'm really happy they're doing a second one.
That's cool. For me, I think the finale nailed it because it's hard for a show to really stick the landing. And it felt like at that point it was a boiling point that just boiled over. And I mean, it was beautiful seeing the whole town come together, the whole city. And then all of a sudden it culminates in this just crazy sequence of a child throwing a bomb. And then everybody just starts fighting. And it kind of connected on, like, if you look over the past few years, all the movements that we've had happening in America, it's like, wow, this feels very relatable. And then not to mention it's just like history, right? It's kind of that spark that sets the rebellion off. So now we really actually are going to get a rebellion, kind of like Tommy was saying. It's like, all right, Cassian and Luthen are going to go off and they're going to start recruiting everybody now. And I kind of think in season 2, I think we're going to find out that his sister is working with the Empire. I have a feeling that his sister, which kind of drives him more towards that edge where he tries to save his sister, or they do something happened between the Empire and his sister. And at that point, it kind of breaks him between his mom dying and his sister falling to the Empire. And that kind of sends him down that path of just, you know what, I'm just going to do what I have to do to take down the Empire. And if that's kill a random guy who was once on our team, then so be it. And aside from that, I definitely feel like Luthen is going to bite the dust at some point. I kind of hope he doesn't. Just because you don't see him in Rogue One doesn't mean he's not dead, or it doesn't, mean he is dead.
But I feel like he wrote his death certificate when he said, I'm fighting for a sunrise I'll never see, or
exactly. So I kind of feel like we're setting up for a beautiful death in that manner. And then I think at that point, we're going to see Mon Mothma have to escape too and have to go into hiding as well. So I predict her kind of escaping in a very dramatic fashion and getting out, because season 2, for people who don't know, it's 12 episodes, but each 3 parts is a year. So this takes place years 2 to 5. So it might be each 4 episodes, but it's broken up. So like the first few episodes are year 2, the next few episodes are year 3, the next are year 4, and then year 5. And then it ends with Rogue One. So where it's not going to be like one culminating year like we just had. It's everything leading up from this point over a few years time. So I feel like we're going to do some time jumps, and we're going to see some pretty intense things happen.
Well, I feel like we didn't talk at all about the fact that they wanted to kill him. I know we've actually talked about it on the last episode, but the fact that the rebellion is so quick to kill people that are on their side to not expose themselves. And it's like, you're just killing people who are on your side. You're decreasing the amount of people who are rooting for you. But it's like,
I think Tommy made a good point. That's kind of where Luthen kind of sees he can't do that now. He needs people to build this rebellion, and he's going to build it from the ground up, because he was quick to kill everyone, because that's how he doesn't want to get found out, but you need the boots on the ground, so to speak. Yeah. And so I think he's kind of learning that lesson.
Yeah. I considered saying Cinta for my least favorite, just because she was so cold. And so just matter of fact, like, I'm here to kill Andor, even though, he's also coming to the rebel side, and just, she was cold.
It's communication, man. So
yeah, they definitely, I mean, I guess she wasn't ready for her character development, but I guess she'll be back, and I would be excited to see her, because they hinted at her family was killed by stormtroopers, and she's doing this all for revenge. So I mean, I think they've done that exact kind of story before for Star Wars with the rebellion and all that, but it'll be nice to see it again. I want to see her realize, like, you can't just fight for revenge, yada yada, the whole spiel that they've given before. But it'll be nice to see again. It's a good message. For sure.
No, I agree. So as we wrap up, Tommy, first of all, thank you for hanging out and joining us. Why don't you go ahead? Where can people find your works? Where can people find you on the social medias? And is there anything else you want to add before we go ahead and wrap up this episode?
So my main thing is Twitter, even though, as everyone knows, it's imploding.
It's hot.
But my my username on there is my name. So Tommy, that like underscore symbol, Stella. You'll find me on there. It's very clear if it's me or not. It's just find a chaotic one. I've started doing the Hive thing. It's a little glitchy on my phone, so I've been a little hesitant to use it, but it is a very fun experience. It's mostly Star Wars people. That one is just my name without the underscore. Feel free to find me on there. I just follow everyone back on there, so we're having a fun time. And then on either one of those, you can find my website. So I don't necessarily have to say it on here, but on there you can read 4 of my comics. Each one is a one-shot kind of thing. They all have like similar themes. Like it was written as a collection, but they're all like 4 short stories. And then eventually, if you do follow me on the internet, I'll be announcing a Kickstarter soonish. The story that we're currently working on is going to be like a backing early bonus. Like you back it and then you get the story as like a PDF or something. So that should be all happening very soon. I'll be announcing it soon, and I'm very excited for it. You'll see a lot of it.
Awesome. Well, as always, everybody, Lauren, do you have anything before we wrap?
Nope. Well, we do know what we're doing next week. We will be recording with Cheap Seats, doing some sort of Christmas movie. We don't know which Christmas movie yet, but we do know there are guests next week.
We are. We're going to be rolling into Christmas time. So make sure, I hope everybody at this point, Thanksgiving's over. We're full on into the Christmas experience. We appreciate you guys hanging out. Hops Geek News on all social platforms, all podcasting platforms. And we'll see you guys next week. Cheers.